The courtroom was already full before the first case even began. A late morning sun cut through the tall windows, drawing faint stripes of light across the old oak benches. The air buzzed with quiet murmurs. Traffic fines, overdue tickets, excuses rehearsed under breath. Then came the sound of polished boots. A man in full police uniform entered. Tall, broad-shouldered, the kind who carried authority in every stride. His badge gleamed under the fluorescent light, but his expression was anything but calm. He didn't wait for the bailiff's cue. He walked straight to the defendant's stand and placed his citation down. Not gently, but with enough force to rattle the microphone. Judge Caprio, behind his bench, lifted his gaze with patient interest. "Good morning, Captain. You're here on a parking citation, correct?" The officer crossed his arms, his chin tilted slightly upward. "Morning, Your Honor. I'm here because one of your officers thought it was appropriate to ticket me while I was responding to an emergency." A whisper ran through the audience. Someone even chuckled nervously. Caprio leaned forward, his voice calm, conversational. "Well, Captain, emergencies are part of life, but the law doesn't take coffee breaks. Let's take a look at what happened." He gestured to the clerk. The screen behind the courtroom flickered to life. The quiet tension of the room settled like dust before a storm. Cut to audience reaction, raised eyebrows, side glances. The stage is set for a clash of egos. On the monitor, the footage rolled. A cruiser parked directly in a no parking tow zone area outside a small coffee shop. The timestamp blinked clearly. Mid-morning, 15 minutes. Far from an emergency call. The captain's jaw flexed. His eyes darted away from the screen. Judge Caprio's voice was steady, neutral. "Captain, can you tell me what kind of emergency brings a police car to a coffee shop?" The officer's nostrils flared. "With all due respect, Your Honor, I've been protecting this city for 27 years. I don't need to justify every stop I make to someone who's never walked a beat." The crowd froze. That sentence hung in the air like a challenge. Some looked at the judge, waiting for the response. Others lowered their eyes, bracing for impact. Caprio didn't blink. He simply folded his hands and let the silence breathe. When he finally spoke, his tone was calm, but each word was sharpened with quiet precision. "Captain," he said, "you've walked your beat, and I've walked mine for longer than you think. My beat happens to be the path between fairness and authority." The officer scoffed, muttering under his breath, "This isn't about fairness." Caprio's voice cut through like glass. "Then perhaps it's time you remember what it is about. Accountability." Camera pans across the courtroom. Eyes wide, shoulders stiff. The battle lines are drawn. The captain took a slow step forward, resting both hands on the podium. "With all due respect, Your Honor," he said, his voice rising, "you're making this personal." Gasps echoed across the benches. Even the bailiff tensed. Caprio didn't move. Not even an inch. He raised one hand, palm forward. "Sit down. Now." There was no anger in his voice, just unshakable command. The kind that didn't demand obedience. It created it. The captain froze. Something deep, almost instinctual, reminded him he was in the presence of someone who wielded a different kind of authority. Not with badges or rank, but with integrity. He sank slowly into his chair. His eyes flicked up once, searching for a trace of mockery, but there was none. Caprio's face remained steady, carved in quiet patience. "I've had veterans, doctors, teenagers, even teachers stand right where you are," the judge said, his voice softer now but carrying to every corner of the room. "They all get the same respect and the same responsibility. The law doesn't bend for titles. It stands for truth." The captain's lips parted, but no words came. The silence that followed was not humiliation. It was realization. Camera lingers on the judge's hand resting calmly on the bench, the symbol of control restored. The silence lingered until even the air seemed to hum. The captain looked down at his hands, big, calloused, trembling slightly. The badge on his chest gleamed, but it suddenly felt heavier than ever. He cleared his throat. "You're right, Judge," he said, his tone breaking for the first time. "I've been under pressure. Lost one of my men last week. Been carrying that around." A ripple of empathy passed through the courtroom. The spectators who once looked ready for a confrontation now softened, their expressions shifting from judgment to understanding. Caprio leaned forward, his voice low but steady. Grief has a strange way of showing itself, Captain. Sometimes it comes out as pride, sometimes anger, but it doesn't erase accountability. The officer nodded slowly. I know. I guess. I forgot that badge doesn't make me untouchable. Caprio offered a faint human smile. It makes you visible, he said, and when people look at you, they should see the strength to admit when you're wrong. The captain exhaled, almost a sigh of release. The hard edges of his demeanor softened. His eyes glistened under the courtroom lights. Camera pans to the crowd. Silence replaced by respect. When Judge Caprio finally spoke again, his tone had returned to its calm rhythm. The same voice that had presided over thousands of cases, but now layered with compassion. I'm dismissing the ticket, he said. The captain blinked in disbelief. Not because of your badge, the judge continued, but because I believe you came here today as one man, and you're leaving as a better one. He leaned back, tapping his gavel softly once. True authority, he added, isn't proven by how loudly you speak, but by how calmly you listen. The captain stood, a visible weight lifted from his shoulders. He hesitated, then looked up. You've got my respect, Your Honor. Caprio nodded. Then I've done my job. As the captain exited, the audience rose to their feet in quiet applause, not for the verdict, but for the lesson. Judge Caprio arranging his papers, sunlight catching the edge of his glasses, the image of discipline, composure, and earned respect.